Every breakthrough, every success, every achievement begins in the same place, inside the mind. The difference between those who rise and those who remain is not found in circumstance, nor in luck, but in how they've trained their thoughts to guide their lives. Your mind is the starting point of every achievement. Everything that has ever been created, every building that stands tall, every invention that has transformed the world, every fortune that has been built, all began first as a thought. Nothing exists in reality until it is first constructed in the imagination. This truth is so simple that most people overlook it, yet it is the very foundation of success and failure alike. If we do not understand that the origin of our progress begins inside our own minds, then we will forever be at the mercy of chance, waiting for life to hand us something it never will. Think of the life you want to live. Before it can take form in your hands, it must first take shape in your mind. The mind is not just a passive observer, it is an architect. The moment you set a clear thought, you begin to carve out a pattern. Thoughts repeated become beliefs. Beliefs solidify into convictions, and convictions direct action. Action produces results, and results create reality. This is the unbroken chain that connects your inner life with your outer experience. If you wish to change your world, you must first change your thoughts. Consider the person who's achieved great success in any field. What separated them from the average? It was not always money, not always opportunity, not even luck. It was the decision to begin with a thought, a picture of what could be, while others were satisfied with what is. They dared to see beyond their circumstances, and once that image was clear in their mind, they began to move toward it with faith and persistence. In contrast, the one who never allows themselves to think beyond their current reality remains chained to it, not because they cannot rise, but because they never gave themselves permission to imagine something greater. The mind is neutral, and this neutrality is both its danger and its strength. Just as it can conceive greatness, it can also accept mediocrity. Just as it can focus on possibility, it can dwell on limitation. If you fail to deliberately plant the seeds of growth, weeds of fear and doubt will grow on their own. This is why guarding the mind is not optional, it is essential. Every thought you entertain, every image you allow, every belief you accept, is like a seed cast into fertile soil. Over time, it cannot help but produce a harvest. The question is, will that harvest be one of abundance or of lack? This is where responsibility comes in. A person who understands that the mind is the starting point of every achievement will take responsibility for what they allow into it. They will choose carefully the ideas they feed on, the conversations they engage in, the visions they hold, and the words they repeat to themselves. They will refuse to let fear, envy, or negativity dictate their direction, for they know that once a thought takes root, it will quietly begin shaping tomorrow. It is easy to believe that success is external, that it belongs to the few who happen to be fortunate, or that it depends on circumstances outside of our control. But history has shown again and again that those who achieve lasting greatness do so not because the world handed them advantage, but because they trained their minds to rise above the ordinary. They began within, and through that inner mastery they shaped the world around them. If you want to rise, begin where everything begins, in the mind. Guard it, direct it, discipline it. Hold in it only the thoughts that build, and refuse the ones that destroy. For once you understand that your thoughts are not idle but powerful forces in motion, you will realize that every achievement you desire is already within your reach. It only awaits your decision to begin. Thoughts are seeds. You harvest what you plant. This is not just a phrase. It is the reality of how life unfolds for every individual. The mind operates like a field of limitless potential, and whatever you allow to take root in it will eventually grow into the experiences, circumstances, and results of your life. The tragedy is that most people never consciously choose what they plant. They scatter seeds carelessly, letting outside influences, fears, and doubts dictate what grows. Yet the truth remains. If weeds are sown, weeds will grow. If flowers and fruit are sown, abundance will appear. Every thought that crosses your mind carries with it the power to shape your behavior, your character, and your destiny. When you dwell on thoughts of limitation, telling yourself you can't, you're not ready, or you're not worthy, those thoughts sink deep, sprouting into patterns of hesitation and avoidance. Slowly, without realizing it, you begin to live inside a prison built by your own thinking. But the opposite is just as true. A thought of courage, of belief, of possibility, when nurtured, will set in motion a series of actions that lead you forward. Over time, they produce a harvest of confidence, growth, and success. This law is as certain as gravity. A farmer knows that he cannot plant thorns and expect grapes. He cannot sow carelessly and expect an orderly crop. Yet many people hope for success while entertaining thoughts of failure. They desire health while nurturing fear of illness. They crave prosperity while holding thoughts of scarcity. The mind, impartial and unjudging, will always return what it is given. Just as fertile soil does not question what is planted, your mind does not resist. It simply grows what you feed it, whether good or bad, constructive or destructive. The wise understand this and therefore guard their thoughts with vigilance. They do not allow every passing opinion, every negative remark, every discouraging belief from others to take root. Instead, they choose deliberately. They water thoughts of ambition with reading, reflection, and positive company. They fertilize their minds with ideas of growth, service, and discipline, and slowly, like a well-tended garden, their life becomes a reflection of this deliberate planting. It is important to realize that results take time. A seed does not become a tree overnight. Many give up because they expect immediate results, failing to see that every great change in life follows a process. Thoughts, once sown, work silently. They shape attitudes, attitudes shape actions, and actions create results. If you persist in nurturing thoughts of purpose, discipline, and confidence, you will one day look around and realize that your life has become a harvest of the very seeds you once chose to plant. Consider for a moment how this truth has worked in your own life. Every achievement you've ever experienced began first as a thought. The career you pursued, the relationships you built, even the challenges you overcame, all began in the unseen realm of the mind. What you thought about most, what you believed most deeply, eventually materialized. If this has been true in the past, it will be true in the future. The only question is, what seeds will you choose to plant today? You cannot escape the law of the harvest, but you can use it to your advantage. Train your mind to dwell on what you want, not on what you fear. Hold fast to thoughts that empower rather than weaken. Each time you replace a thought of defeat with one of determination, you are planting the kind of seed that leads to victory. Each time you replace a thought of envy with one of gratitude, you are planting the seed of abundance. And each time you replace a thought of doubt with one of belief, you are planting the seed of growth. Life will always give you back what you give it. Plant wisely, tend patiently, and harvest gladly, for the seeds of today are the fruits of tomorrow. Discipline in thinking leads to discipline in action. When most people hear the word discipline, they immediately imagine rigid rules, strict routines, or the heavy burden of self-control. But in truth, discipline is freedom. It is not a chain that restricts, but a compass that guides. And nowhere is discipline more powerful than in the mind, for the quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life. Every action a person takes is first born as a thought. Every achievement, every mistake, every success and every failure begins with a decision in the mind. The difficulty is that thoughts are fleeting, often undisciplined, scattered and influenced by the world around us. A person who has not trained their mind to think clearly will find themselves carried by the tide of distractions, temptations, and impulses. But the individual who develops discipline in thought gains the ability to choose direction, to choose purpose, and to live with intention. Think of your mind as a powerful machine. Left unattended, it runs on whatever programming it has received from past experiences, surroundings, or chance influences. If that programming is filled with fear, laziness, and doubt, the machine will produce hesitation, procrastination, and missed opportunities. But when you impose discipline on your thoughts, when you deliberately choose what to dwell upon, what to imagine, and what to believe, you reprogram the machine to serve you. Instead of being the machine in control of you, you are the machine to control itself. This is not done in a day, but through steady practice, just as an athlete strengthens muscle through consistent training. The disciplined thinker learns to direct attention toward what matters. Instead of wasting energy on fears of what might go wrong, they focus on solutions and possibilities. Instead of replaying the failures of yesterday, they ask, "What can I learn from this? How can I improve?" The disciplined mind becomes like a lens, bringing clarity to what is important and filtering out the noise of distraction. And clarity always leads to stronger action, because a person who knows exactly what they want and why they want it is far more likely to achieve it. When thoughts are disciplined, actions naturally follow. For example, a person who trains their mind each morning to visualize success to affirm discipline and to focus on their goals will find it far easier to resist the pull of laziness or procrastination. Their actions align with their mental conditioning. On the other hand, a person who allows their mind to wander into negativity or self-doubt begins the day already defeated, and their actions will reflect it. The battle is won or lost in the mind before it is ever fought in the world. This is why great achievements are never accidents. They are the result of a mind trained to persist, to focus, to hold a vision when the world offers distraction. A disciplined mind does not eliminate obstacles, but it equips you to rise above them. When others give up, the disciplined thinker adjusts their approach. When others are discouraged, the disciplined thinker remembers the goal. The difference is not in talent or opportunity, but in the quiet mastery of thought. And though discipline may sound difficult, the truth is that life without discipline is far harder. To drift without direction, to live at the mercy of moods and impulses, to start and abandon projects endlessly, this is the real burden. But the moment you commit to training your mind, to disciplining your thoughts, you begin to step into freedom, freedom to act with purpose, freedom to choose your future, freedom to rise. In the end, discipline in thought is not about forcing yourself into discomfort, but about aligning your mind with what you truly want. It is the daily decision to think with clarity, to choose with wisdom, and to act with consistency. And once you master your thoughts, your actions will naturally follow. For the disciplined mind is the foundation of a disciplined life, and a disciplined life is the foundation of greatness. Your environment plays a larger role in your life than most people realize. The books you read, the conversations you engage in, the people you spend your time with, and the ideas you allow into your mind, these are all shaping forces. They quietly build the boundaries of your thinking. Just as a tree bends in the direction of the wind, so too does the human mind lean toward the influences around it. If you place yourself in a negative environment filled with doubt, fear, and gossip, those same elements will take root in your thinking. You may not notice it immediately, but over time your confidence erodes, your vision narrows, and your spirit grows heavy. Yet here lies the great truth. While environment shapes thought, thought also has the power to reshape environment. This is the power of a trained mind. Every person carries within them the ability to rise above their surroundings by changing the way they think. When you decide to guard your mind, to feed it only with what strengthens and uplifts, you begin to break free from the limitations of circumstance. A man or woman with vision can stand in the poorest of places and still see wealth. One with discipline can live among distraction and still find focus. It is not the walls that confine us. It is the ideas we allow to dwell within us. By consciously choosing your thoughts, you slowly but surely influence your surroundings until the very environment that once limited you begins to reflect your inner growth. History is filled with examples of individuals who rose from environments of hardship not because the world around them changed first, but because they changed their thinking. A poor student becomes a scholar not by luck, but by training his mind to see possibility in knowledge. An overlooked worker becomes a leader not because someone handed him power, but because he shaped his thinking to lead before the position ever arrived. In every case, the environment followed the mind, never the other way around. The principle is simple. What you consistently hold in your mind begins to manifest outwardly. If you dwell on progress, your choices naturally align with growth. If you feed on wisdom, you begin to speak with clarity. If you entertain courage, your actions become bold. The environment responds because you become a different kind of person. And when you change, everything around you eventually shifts to meet the new standard you set. It is true that we cannot always choose where we begin. Some are born into wealth, others into struggle. Some are surrounded by encouragement, others by criticism. But the starting point does not determine the destination. The deciding factor is the inner training of the mind. A disciplined thinker knows how to filter the noise, absorb what is useful, and discard what is harmful. They learn to extract value even from difficult surroundings, using challenges as training grounds rather than prisons. In time, the one who trains their mind becomes a creator of environments. Instead of being shaped by circumstance, they shape the circumstances. They choose the friends who inspire growth. They build habits that promote health. They cultivate spaces, physical, mental, and emotional, that serve their purpose. And when they encounter resistance, they remain unshaken, for they understand that true power lies not outside, but within. This is why training the mind is essential. You cannot always change your surroundings immediately, but you can always decide what to think about them. A mind that learns to see opportunity where others see obstacles, a mind that remains calm where others panic, a mind that believes in possibility where others see impossibility, that mind will eventually transform its environment. And once it does, the person rises not only above their situation, but above every limitation that once held them down. Success is often misunderstood. Many believe it is a race, something to be won by those who move the fastest, those who seem to get ahead before anyone else has even begun. But the truth is far simpler and far more profound. Success is not about speed, it is about direction. A person moving slowly in the right direction will always arrive before the one rushing in the wrong one. The train that leaves later but follows the correct track will always reach its destination, while the one that departs early but travels the wrong way is doomed to waste time and energy. When we speak of training the mind to rise, this principle becomes essential. The direction of your life is set by the dominant thoughts you hold, the visions you pursue, and the values you live by. A person who has no clear sense of direction may expend enormous effort, but it will often lead nowhere. We have all seen people who are endlessly busy, running from one task to another. Yet, after years, they find themselves no closer to fulfillment or true success. Why? Because busyness is not progress. Motion is not advancement. Without clarity of direction, effort is scattered and energy is wasted. A clear direction is like a compass. It gives meaning to every step, even the small and difficult ones. When you know where you are going, even setbacks are not final. They are merely detours that still lead you forward. The farmer understands this when he plants a seed. He does not demand that it sprout overnight. He knows the direction of growth is upward, and as long as he waters it, nurtures it, and protects it, time will take care of the rest. The same is true for our dreams. They require patience, care, and steady commitment. To expect immediate results is to misunderstand the process of rising. Direction requires thought. It requires asking questions. What do I truly want? What do I value most? Where do I wish to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20? These questions may seem simple, but they are profound. Most people never stop to consider them seriously. They allow life to pull them in random directions, led by urgency, by circumstance, or by the expectations of others. But the one who trains the mind to rise knows that the first task is to establish a clear direction, because every action that follows will gain power from it. It is not the pace of your journey that matters, but the consistency of your steps. Think of the river. It does not rush violently, yet over time it carves valleys, moves stones, and shapes the land itself. Its power lies not in speed, but in steady flow. So it is with the human spirit. If each day you take one step in the right direction, your progress will be inevitable. You may not notice it in a week or even in a month, but given time, you will look back and realize how far you have come. There is a great peace in knowing you are on the right path. It eliminates the anxiety of comparison, because you understand that another person's speed has no bearing on your success. It removes the fear of failure, because setbacks are no longer the end, but simply part of the process. Most importantly, it allows you to endure, because you are not burning out in frantic motion, but steadily advancing with purpose. To train your mind to rise, you must discipline it to value direction above speed. Let your thoughts be guided not by urgency but by vision. Let your actions be aligned not with impulse but with intention, and once you have found your direction, trust it, and walk it steadily, for life has always rewarded the one who moves with clarity, persistence, and unwavering purpose. The power of belief determines the altitude of your rise. Every person is living today according to the boundaries they have set in their own mind. These boundaries are rarely created by external limitations. More often they are formed by quiet assumptions, invisible doubts, and unchallenged fears. Belief is not simply a hopeful wish. It is the framework within which all your actions take place. A person can have talent, resources, and opportunities, but if belief is missing, those gifts remain dormant. On the other hand, an individual with modest beginnings, few resources, and countless obstacles can still ascend to remarkable heights if their belief is strong enough to fuel consistent action. Consider how a pilot flies an aeroplane. The plane itself may be powerful, capable of soaring thousands of feet into the sky, but it will never leave the ground until the pilot believes it can and acts on that belief. The same is true of the human mind. Belief acts as the ignition. Without it, we may have all the potential in the world, but we remain grounded. With it, we rise, sometimes higher than we ever imagined possible. Belief influences perception. If you believe something can be achieved, you begin to see opportunities that others overlook. You notice connections, you recognize possibilities, and you interpret setbacks differently. Where a doubter sees failure, the believer sees feedback. Where one sees the end of the road, the other sees a detour. This shift in perception alone can mean the difference between giving up too early and pressing forward until success arrives. But belief is not built overnight. It must be trained and reinforced. You begin by guarding the thoughts you allow to take root in your mind. If you repeat to yourself daily that you are not capable, your mind accepts that as truth, and your actions will follow accordingly. If you repeat that you are capable, worthy, and resilient, your subconscious begins to adjust to this higher standard, and your behavior rises to meet it. The mind, like soil, does not argue with what is planted, it simply grows it. Belief must be nurtured daily with words, with vision, and with action. The strongest beliefs are formed through proof. When you take small steps and achieve small victories, your belief expands. Each time you follow through on a promise to yourself, no matter how minor, you are building evidence that you can be trusted. Over time, this evidence becomes unshakable conviction. The danger lies not in aiming too high and missing, but in aiming too low and hitting. And to rise, your belief must stretch beyond your current reality and touch the edges of what seems impossible. History is filled with examples of men and women who rose far above what others believed possible simply because they refused to accept the limits of their time. They believed in ideas others dismissed, in dreams others mocked, in paths others feared to walk. Their achievements were not born solely of intelligence or resources. They were fueled by belief that endured when evidence was scarce. When you believe, you activate courage. When you believe, you persist longer than doubt can last. When you believe, you rise above the noise of criticism and the weight of temporary defeat. The altitude of your life will always correspond with the altitude of your belief. Train it, strengthen it, protect it, and expand it. For as you believe, so you shall become. Your daily habits are the silent architects of your destiny. What you do once in a while has little power to shape your life. But what you do repeatedly, almost unconsciously, writes the script of your future. The small decisions you make day after day, how you think, how you respond, how you use your time, are laying bricks on the path you are walking. Each brick may seem insignificant on its own, but together they build the structure of your life. Consider how habits are formed. At first, a habit begins as a choice, something you do deliberately. You may decide to read for 10 minutes in the morning, write down your goals, or take a short walk to clear your mind. The first time you do it, it feels small, almost trivial. But as you repeat it, your mind and body adapt. What was once a conscious decision slowly becomes automatic. And here lies the great power. Once a habit is built, it begins to work without your constant attention. Good habits, when set in motion, continue to serve you even when you are not consciously thinking about them. On the other hand, destructive habits work the same way. Neglecting small responsibilities, giving in to distractions, avoiding challenges, all of these, when repeated, also build momentum. The tragedy is that negative habits rarely seem dangerous in the beginning. One skipped task, one wasted evening, one careless thought does not appear to matter. But just as small drops of water can hollow out stone over time, the repetition of poor habits erodes potential and weakens character. The difference between those who rise and those who fall is rarely in one great decision or event. It is in the consistent practice of habits, silently repeated over the years. The person who spends 15 minutes every day feeding their mind with learning and reflection will, over time, rise far above the one who spends those same minutes in idle distraction. The difference is not seen in a week or a month, but in years. The gap becomes undeniable. When you understand that habits are the architects of destiny, you begin to treat every action with greater respect. You realize that each choice carries weight. Do you wake up and start your day with purpose, or do you drift into it without intention? Do you feed your mind with ideas that strengthen you, or do you allow anything and everything to enter without filter? These choices, small as they seem, accumulate. They are the blueprints of your future. One of the most powerful truths about habits is that they are within your control. You may not choose every circumstance in your life, but you can choose how you respond, and by choosing wisely again and again, you create patterns of strength. Discipline may feel difficult in the moment, but once discipline becomes habit, it transforms into freedom. the freedom to think clearly, to act decisively, and to live intentionally. If you wish to rise, do not ask yourself only about your goals, ask yourself about your habits. What are you repeatedly doing that pulls you closer to the life you desire? What are you repeatedly doing that holds you back? Life does not respond to wishful thinking, it responds to consistent action, and those actions, repeated daily, become habits that build or break the foundation of your success. The world does not see your habits immediately, but it will always see their results. Like the roots of a tree, habits are hidden at first, quietly spreading beneath the surface. But in time, they determine the strength, the height, and the reach of the tree. So it is with you. Train your habits, and you train your destiny. Guard them carefully, for they are the quiet builders of the life you will one day live. Train your mind to rise above fear, doubt, and limitation, for these are the silent chains that hold more people back than any external circumstance. The world is not short of opportunities. It is not short of paths, ideas, or possibilities. What it lacks are men and women who have trained themselves to rise above the barriers created in their own minds. Fear is not an external enemy. It is an internal thought, fed by imagination, magnified by inaction, and given strength every time we surrender to it. Doubt is not truth. It is uncertainty disguised as wisdom. And limitation is rarely a fact, it is often an assumption, a belief we have accepted without question. Most people live their lives within invisible walls. These walls are not built of stone or steel, but of unchallenged thoughts. I am not ready yet. I don't have what it takes. What if I fail? The tragedy is not that people have these thoughts. The tragedy is that they believe them. To train your mind to rise means to challenge these internal voices, to question the fear, to test the doubt, to refuse the limitation. When the mind begins to rise, it starts asking different questions. What if I succeed? What if I'm stronger than I think? What if the risk is worth the reward? These new questions unlock new directions, and with new directions come new realities. Fear is most dangerous not because it stops us, but because it disguises itself as protection. It whispers, "Stay where you are. You're safe here." And in the name of safety, countless dreams are buried. But safety is an illusion if it keeps you from growth. The mind must be trained to look at fear not as a stop sign, but as a signal. Fear is often a sign that we are standing at the doorway of growth. The very thing we fear to attempt is usually the thing that will lead us to expansion. When you rise above fear, you do not eliminate it, you simply refuse to bow to it. Doubt, too, is a master deceiver. It enters quietly, telling you that you are not good enough, not prepared enough, not worthy enough. If left unchecked, it paralyzes action before it even begins. The cure for doubt is evidence, and evidence comes only through action. Every small step forward weakens doubt's voice, until one day it has no authority at all. To rise above doubt, you must teach your mind to act even in uncertainty. You do not need to see the whole path to take the first step. And then there is limitation. The greatest limitations are rarely real, they are accepted. They come from cultural conditioning, from the expectations of others, from the weight of past experiences. Many live confined to what they've always known, never realizing that the walls are paper thin. History is full of men and women who shattered supposed limitations, people who rose from poverty to wealth, from obscurity to influence, from impossibility to reality. The difference was not in resources but in mindset. They trained their minds to rise above what the world told them was possible. When you rise above fear, doubt, and limitation, you enter a different plane of living. Life begins to open in ways it never has before. Possibilities appear where before there were only problems. Strength emerges where before there was hesitation. Confidence grows where once there was only uncertainty. The mind, trained to rise, becomes unstoppable, not because the obstacles are gone, but because the person facing them is no longer the same. To train your mind to rise is to declare that nothing within you will hold you back. Fear will not decide your future. Doubt will not dictate your choices. Limitation will not define your life. And when the mind makes that declaration, everything in life begins to move upward. For as a person thinks, so they rise.